Today we journey into the unknown. No. God, no. I mean this unknown. A world fueled by folklore, a fall palette, and familiar themes and faces juxtaposed against the odd, uncanny, and unsettling. Grab some potatoes and molasses and hit that subscribe button and bell. I'm Chris Carr, and today on Nostalgia Trip, I want to talk to you about Over the Garden Wall. Before we start burgling some turds, I want to give a shout out to our super nerd sponsor of the day, Charles Sheed. Thanks to heroes like Charles, we get to keep talking tunes with y'all. If you want to pitch in, head on over to our Patreon page and see if a donation tier works for you. Okay, on to Over the Garden Wall. Over the Garden Wall premiered in 2014. Is a 6-year-old show a little fresh for nostalgia? Perhaps, but I love it and I want to talk about it. And what better time than spooky season? Over the Garden Wall was Cartoon Network's first ever miniseries and was immediately met with critical acclaim. I mean, it makes sense. The animation is stunning with its autumnal palette, there's fantastic character designs, there's an all-star cast, and a soundtrack that reinforces that Americana vibe. It truly is a masterpiece. It's an Emmy Award winner. And these 11-minute episodes are packed with creepy nursery nods, winks to classic literature, references to all kinds of American folklore, and metaphors for death. We begin our story with two brothers who are lost in the woods. Wirt is a sullen teenager with a penchant for the poetic, and Greg is a tiny butterball of chaos and joy. We learn as the series progresses that the two end up in this mysterious macabre world on Halloween. The boys are guided through the unknown by Beatrice, a bluebird who was once a human, but because she threw a rock at a bluebird, she and her entire family are now cursed to be birds themselves. Beatrice also happens to be the name of the woman who guided Dante to paradise in the Divine Comedy. So, who better suited to guide two humans through what feels like limbo? These sorts of allusions to other literature are strewn throughout every single episode, like how they'll need 2 pennies to take the ferry, much like how the 2 coins placed on the eyes of the dead were payment to Karen, the ferryman who traveled the river Styx. What all the mishaps and mayhems often boil down to is misunderstanding. Wirt and Beatrice allow their imaginations to get the best of them. What they perceive a situation to be is almost always worse than what's actually happening. Things are rarely as terrible as they imagine they are, which brings us back to Wirt and his fears at home. Sarah seems to like Wirt, despite all his sweating and nerves. She's not going to react to his tape as horribly as he predicts. But yeah, bud, maybe build to the tape. Jazz and poetry is a very specific vibe. Once Wirt stops and thinks about what is actually happening in a scenario, he's able to productively handle it. Look at our climax with the Beast. The Beast offers Wirt the opportunity to keep Greg's soul in a lantern, so long as he feeds that lantern oil. But that deal makes 0 sense! Because Wirt takes a breath, he doesn't act out of fear or anxiety. He's able to do what his brother actually needs him to do. The boys encounter many strange and unsettling creatures on their journey home. A standout creepy episode is when the boys stop by Pottsfield and encounter folks wearing pumpkins and celebrating the harvest. What are they harvesting? The bones of their friends! These skeletons become sentient and are clothed in gourds. This is a play on the term Potter's Field, a place where the poor or the unknown would be buried. This is a concept that can be followed back to the Bible, as Judas is said to have been buried in such a place. The leader in Pottsfield is another biblical reference. It's a cat named Enoch, who, in the Bible, did not die, but was taken by God and brought to heaven while still living. And while this weird pumpkin spice midsummer is very unsettling, there's still levity. The skeletons dance around, harkening back to Disney's Silly Symphony's Skeleton Dance. That's one of the joys of this show. It's a love letter to other animation, to other storytelling. You look at a character like Auntie Whispers, and you know that this is a tribute to Miyazaki and Spirited Away. The barmaid in Song of the Dark Lantern is clearly a Betty Boop knockoff. The reluctant sibling protecting their little brother in a strange place reminds us of stories like Labyrinth. Not only is this a beautiful tribute to all of its influences, it also means that Over the Garden Wall instantly feels familiar, even when traveling through the depths of the unknown. It feels nostalgic, even if it's your first viewing. The show can explore all these weird and wild concepts because of its foundation. 2 brothers trying to get home and sort out how to be brothers. Wirt isn't just lost in the woods. He himself is lost. He's overwhelmed and anxious around his peers. He feels pressured by his stepdad. He seems to resent his half-brother to a degree. He's filled with self-doubt and a false perception of his peers. I mean, take how he looks at Jason Funderburker. He thinks that guy is the whole package? This Finn Wolfhard-looking nerd with a warbly voice that Sarah clearly has a, oh bless, attitude about? And Greg just desperately wants to spend time with Wirt and please his brother. Greg just wants Wirt to be happy, and he'll do anything to try to help him be that. He'll try to attack the woodsmen. He'll help all the odd animal creatures they find along the way. He'll try to sacrifice himself to the Beast in Wirt's place because Well, that's what a friend, and more importantly, a brother would do. He sees his brother as a great guy, so of course he'll go to deliver the mixtape Wirt made Sarah. If that's who Wirt wants to be with, Greg's gonna make it happen. That's easy enough, right? Greg is so pure, though, that he's often unaware of the immense danger that he's in. But this opens Wirt up into letting his brother call some of the shots and trust in him, and it forces Wirt to start accepting responsibility for his actions and not placing all the blame on his new family. Beatrice learns and grows, realizing that hurting others for her own entertainment or her own happiness and betterment is wrong. Everyone has to grow up in some way. As much as this is a journey into the fantastic, this is a coming-of-age story. And what holiday is more of a rite of passage than Halloween? Remember when you finally got to go trick-or-treating without your parents? It was massive! Halloween, as we now celebrate it, is this fun, independent holiday for kids. You aren't committed to going to your aunt's for dry turkey. You aren't typically engaging in religious activities. You're just being a kid, kicking it with your friends, wearing a homemade costume that you're so proud of. You feel a little bit grown up. You've reached a new maturity level. You've given up some of your childish ways, but you're retaining your childish sense of wonderment. So Wirt and Greg embarking on this transformative journey on All Hallows Eve makes total sense. They come out of this night changed and unified thanks to these weird and wondrous experiences that it seems did very much happen, since Frog Jason Funderburker's tummy glows from Lorna's bell that he swallowed. This is a series that begs to be rewatched. Not only so you can just catch how many things they packed into these 10 short episodes, but because you somehow become more endeared to these characters each and every time. You really feel Beatrice's struggle when she meets the boys and tries to ensure they're just two lost kids who are going nowhere in life, knowing she'll betray them. You relate on a cellular level to Wirt's awkwardness and doubt. You're so proud of the naive Greg becoming a little less chaotic and a little less selfish. Millennials in particular have grown up in this era of, is this too creepy of animation? Real Monsters, Courage the Cowardly Dog. We've all been gifted with experiencing the unknown and terrifying tales, and Over the Garden Wall really explores that fine line of fantastical beauty and terror. Most of my friends make this a yearly viewing, and there's something about Over the Garden Wall that feels like it's always been part of autumn traditions. It's 6 years old, and people hold it in their hearts on a level like The Grinch or Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown. The unknown feels like it's always belonged to us. This modern American Gothic fairy tale is able to connect with us in under 2 hours because we've all been lost in the woods one way or another. Autumn is a time of change. Halloween is a rite of passage. And Over the Garden Wall perfectly captures that transition. It deserves to be a Halloween staple. You better add it to your list of binging. You can stream Over the Garden Wall currently on HBO Max and on Hulu. These are just my thoughts on Over the Garden Wall, but what I want to know is, what do you guys think of this show? Is it a Halloween staple in your home? Hit me with your hot takes in the comments below. If you liked this video, give it a like and click to the left to check out more cartoon content. Thanks again to all of our donors on Patreon, and thank you for watching. Until the next detour, I'll see you, Space Cowboy. Happy Halloween!